You're listening to the Empowered to Heal podcast. I'm your host, Dena T, and I'm so excited to take you on a journey through stories of everyday experts as we share the ways we've harnessed the power inside us to improve the quality of our lives and the health of our minds. We're so excited to have you here with us and hope you feel inspired and empowered to heal. Hello, you beautiful souls. Many of you guys know my son Emery because he's been on this podcast a few times sharing his really powerful wisdom with all of us. And while every once in a while, typically when he's trying to fall asleep, because that's when he processes his entire day, he begins talking about his interpretation of his world. For instance, last time he popped on the podcast, he talked about his interpretation of his magical powers. And you guys, they truly will change your perspective of what magic is. If you missed it, you got to go check it out in episode 34. It's so dang precious. Well, today he's popping on to this episode right at the end to share his wisdom of God. He is sharing from his little 4-year-old mind what God is. And it is the most precious, beautiful thing you have ever heard. At least that's my point of view, being biased as his mama. So stay tuned to the end of this episode. This is a pretty short episode here, and it's all based around his teachings of God. You know, it's super awe-inspiring to watch the world through my 4-year-old's eyes. He can trust without seeing anything, right? He trusts what he can't see so easily, and he follows his instincts. He's like completely in touch with his body, and he will dance with his whole body and feel with every ounce of him. And he seems to be super in touch with his emotions as well. He feels without fear. He's not hesitant to have big emotions or to connect and love fiercely. And he acts without second-guessing himself. And I know this is like the phase of development he's in because he's 4 years old, but goodness gracious, you guys, he embodies the state of being that we all strive to obtain as adults. Like he shakes his big, heavy feelings off when he's done feeling them and they no longer serve him, and he'll jump right back to feeling joy. He spends the majority of his life in a state of joy and wonder and curiosity, and he just seems to know, like, simply the truths of this world. For instance, he knows that hugs can make you feel better. He knows that the best way to live is the silly, goofy way. And he knows that he has the power within himself to make the best out of every moment he has. And he does. Spending time with my baby boy is truly a gift from God. I mean, kids in general are a freaking gift from God. And I think that's evident if you spend any amount of time with any little one. For instance, this weekend, my son graduated from pre-K. It was a really big moment for me as a mom. I was choking back tears. But we were planning for this big day for a couple of weeks, and his class learned songs to sing so that they could present them to all the parents at the graduation. And he was like gearing up for this momentous occasion in his little 4-year-old life. And he is so excited to be graduating and going to kindergarten. So as the big day came up for his graduation, my mommy brain, of course, started thinking about this day. And of course, I was like, what is he going to wear? If you know me, you know that I overthink everything, and you know that I have a lot of pressure around clothing. So I tend to feel like maybe it's a social media thing, but that there's pressure for us to dress our kids up for occasions, and they always have to be like Instagram worthy, right? At his kindergarten graduation, there was like little girls in gorgeous poofy dresses that looked like they were little, like, I don't know, flower girls, and everyone seems to be dressed to the nine all of the time. And I'm kind of in a place in my life where I'm not trying to purchase a lot of things that we don't need. I don't want to contribute to the like absolutely horrific amount of trash and waste that our society creates, especially from buying like fast fashion clothing items. And so everything we get is from a secondhand store, and I have not been thrifting for clothes in a long while. So the clothes that he had available for this graduation were going to either be stained with paint and colors from him living a fabulous 4-year-old life, or they were going to be the clothes that he wore in his picture day pictures, which I didn't know if I really wanted reruns and all of his pictures to just be in the same clothing. So it's a little toss up. And I decided, like, Dena, stop. It's not your body. It doesn't matter what he wears. He's just going to be proud of himself, and we're going to be proud of him no matter what. So we asked him, all right, bud, like, what do you want to wear for graduation? And of course, you know what he said. If you guys follow us on Instagram, he said he wanted to wear his Spider-Man costume. And our little guy, he lives in a Spider-Man costume. It feels like he does. He has spent so much of his time in pre-K and in preschool dressed up as Spider-Man. He eventually got another costume, so he has a Buzz Lightyear costume as well, but he prefers Spider-Man. So the majority of the time when he goes to school, they welcome him into the classroom as like, hey, Spider-Man, so good to see you. Or if he's Buzz Lightyear, they'll welcome him like that. And he just eats it up. He feels so special and so in his element when he's in his Spider-Man costume. So we sent him off to graduation. We showed up and we sent him off up the stage, and he was proudly in his Spider-Man costume with his gloves and his mask and all that jazz. And they said they were going to put him in his little cap and gown for graduation. So we're like, all right, we're doing this. Here he goes. And he's amongst all of his friends who are all dressed up, like I said earlier, like to the nines. And he's in his little Spider-Man costume and then his graduation gown and his graduation cap. And he's got these little like Spider-Man gloves sticking out the end of his graduation gown. It's the cutest thing ever. And the kids put on a little performance for us, and they sang the song Tootie Ta, which is super silly and cute. And they have to do all these like arm movements, like put their arms out and their tongue out and their booty out and spin around. And you have this like row of pre-K kids practicing this song with their caps falling off and their butts in the air and their tongues sticking out. It was just the cutest thing you have ever seen. Oh my goodness. And the teachers at the graduation ceremony, they call each kiddo up and they ask, hey, what do you want to be when you grow up? And so it was Emery's term, and they said, Emery Tipsherini. And he walked his little booty over to the microphone and they said, Emery, what do you want to be when you grow up? And he proudly said, a dad. And the whole crowd just burst into awe, like in unison. It was so precious. And I loved hearing each and every one of those little kiddos say what they wanted to be when they grew up. Some of them were really practical, and it felt like they had their life figured out. They were like, I want to be a doctor, or I want to be a lawyer. And then you had the kiddo who was like the dreamer, and she's like, I want to be a unicorn. And then you had the practical, like matter-of-fact kid who's like, I want to be 5. Just wants to be 5 years old. It was precious. Well, being around all those little ones reminds you of how simple life truly is. Seeing my son engage through these past couple of years of preschool and pre-K was such a clear reminder that we are all born with the capacity to love. And we see peers as opportunities for friendships, to imagine and dream together, to be silly and playful, and just to like bond and exist in the same place together. And very rarely do kids at the age of 4 experience the pain of societal pressures, or of like taught hatred, or of like hampering their dreams and not believing in themselves. I mean, not yet, at least. And I know that's their age. They're 4 years old, and their uniqueness at this age is fostered. It's cherished and adored. Like I said, the teachers would welcome him into class as Spider-Man every day. And it's just a simple truth of humanity. We are all born with the capacity of love, acceptance, kindness, curiosity, creativity, just innocence, wonder. Like, we are all welcomed into this world this way. And as we grow up, society tells us that we we shouldn't be different. And speaking from my son, like, society tells us that your son shouldn't have long hair, or that he can't wear sparkles, or that costumes are for Halloween time or pretend time. But you guys, it's all a lie. It is all a curated facade to protect our archaic beliefs of what is appropriate in a world that lacks imagination and in a world that fears difference. And it took me spending more time with my son and more time with myself to see the impact of societal pressures on myself. So back in episode 26, I spoke from my diary and I shared my need for some unlearning and my need to harness and honor my feelings again. And since then, I've shared some of my growth on the podcast, but one thing I haven't shared is my spiritual growth. And I've been conditioned for the past decade, longer than that, to not talk about my spirituality in a work environment. It's probably been the past 14 years. And due to my profession, we have to keep this separate. We keep religion separate from the public sector. And so I decided when I entered into social work, okay, I can't preach it, can't talk about it, but I'm going to live it. My actions are going to speak louder than my words, and I'm going to act and live out my beliefs daily. And I'm going to embody what I believe in. And I did that. I did that in every interaction I had with families that I worked with. I treated every single human being that I encountered in a way that in my heart was represented my religion, my faith, my belief systems. And so this conversation, it comes a bit hard for me to physically put words to because I've been conditioned for 14 years to not put words to it. So I'm simply out of practice to speak about this. And I think I'm also shaking off some societal rules that have hampered my speech. But I want you to bear with me while I share this information, because part of my awakened journey over these past few months has been around my spirituality. You see, we live in a world that it's like a binary world. We see things as this or that. People think that you have to be one thing or the other, and you can't be both. And when we see our world in this manner, we kind of think everything's mutually exclusive to itself. And so when I started to spend time finding my grounding in my spiritual journey again, this binary perception created some really complicated feelings for me. And I felt pulled in a direction of questioning everything that I believed in. And I know I have this deep emotional pull in knowing that I experience things physically. I can experience the energy of people around me. All of us can if we're in tune with ourselves. But I know this and I feel it at such a deep level. And I know and feel the existence of spirituality in my life. I feel the power and the pull of this. And I know an existence that other people would kind of, label as new age, right? I don't know why we have to label everything, but it's probably just because language gives us a way to communicate when we're out of touch with our bodies and our feelings. But I know deep down inside me that there is this spiritual, energetic existence around me that I can interact with and experience and manipulate in a way, right? I can shift my energy and how I feel. I can shift the energy of my son and what he feels. And I can do it through simple interactions and tasks. I can do it through how I breathe, how I move my body. I can do it through how I share space with somebody, how I regulate myself to regulate the person next to me. And if you're a parent, you know this oh so well. You know that you can pick up a crying baby without words and your energy can soothe them, right? It's just your very presence being around them that can be exactly what they need sometimes. And this knowing oftentimes I felt conflicted around it, right? Like, how can I know and feel this and still be labeled a Christian, right? Because again, like I said, society often tells us that things are mutually exclusive, or I'm going to use the word binary, right? And I think that being raised and living in a society that puts you in, you are either left or right. You are either Christian or not. You're a believer of God or you're New Age, right? Or you're I don't know, you're a boy or a girl. We can take it down to that even, right? Like, we see things in this or that language. And I knew the truth around the feelings of the energy that I have in this world. And I knew the truth around my belief in God and my belief in this higher power of existence and this reason and this being, this purpose for my soul to inhabit this body and this existence and this life, and that it's been given to me and blessed upon me by God. Like, I know these things. I believe in these things. They're both fundamental to me. And so here I was in the middle of a career change, healing old wounds, detoxing from being a workaholic, right? Reconnecting to my son in a different way that wasn't like this stressed out state, and questioning my soul's existence, questioning my spiritual understanding, questioning my faith. And I know you guys, this is a lot to handle. You're probably like, holy moly, Dena, are you okay over there? Well, I feel like we all have to go through this hard work in this journey, and a lot of us oftentimes do this in our 30s. So if you're not 30 yet, just know this is coming, you guys. We start turning inwards, especially us females. So, of course, naturally, in this moment of like, what do I do? In this kind of awakening journey I've been on, I decided, okay, Dena, you're feeling conflicted about this. Let's hone in on it. Let's focus on it for a minute. So I turned to my favorite Spotify playlist. It's an awakening playlist that Julie Santiago created. And I turned to yoga and meditation to clear my mind, and breath work to move my energy. And I turned to my journal. And I journaled out my questions in this like meditative prayer-like state. And what would you guys know happened after that? Like, holy moly. I don't know if y'all believe in signs, but I do, right? I think that if I'm open to the world around me, I will hear or see or feel what I am needing. And a song came on, and this song came on called I Am. And I was immediately taken back to a church trip that I had in northern Arizona. I think we were in like Prescott, and I had to have been like 15 years old, maybe 16 years old, probably 15. That's what my gut's saying. And I remember this day. It was sunny and it was warm, but it wasn't super hot. And we had gathered into our worship area, which was also like our eating area at the place we were staying. And we gathered for worship and for a sermon. And it was morning time. I don't know if we had just eaten or we were going to eat or something to that effect. But our pastor at the time, Todd Kays, he had created shirts for all of us to wear. And when you lift up the shirt and you look at, on the front side of the shirt, you lift up the bottom of it, you can flip it open, and there was a passage on there. And I thought it was the coolest thing ever that a Bible verse was like inscribed on the shirt there. So it was like hidden in there, and it was private for us to know ourselves. And the verse matched his sermon for that day. And that sermon was the most impactful sermon of my youth. And I can't tell you word for word what was shared, but I remember walking out of there singing a song that used our breath to speak the name of God. And I remember walking out with the understanding that God is I am. And the sound of our breath is the sound of God's name. And I remember going to a stone table and sitting on it, journaling for as long as I could, with tears in my eyes and my heart pounding so fast. And I felt filled with hope and light and just this overwhelmed feeling. And I knew in that moment that God was with me, that God was my breath, that God was my very existence, that He filled my lungs and He gave me life. And it gave me this feeling of reassurance. And I felt relief, and I felt light. I felt light as the air, knowing the truth and feeling the truth that God is I am, and God is our breath. And having that resonate so deeply in my core. And that was such a huge moment for me. I remember coming back to my peers after I had journaled and worked in my devotional through that moment. And so many of my peers had already moved on to talking about like the events of the day or their latest crush or whatever. And I felt so raw and vulnerable and strong all at the same time. Like it's not binary, right? I felt all of those emotions at the same time. And I don't know how many years later, 15 plus years later, to sit in my home and be brought back to that very moment in existence, that was all I needed. I had the clearest understanding in that moment that God is the universe. He is the energy. He is the Mother Earth. My practices in yoga and Reiki and meditation and prayer, they're all practices with God. And God is the creator of all things. The energy we use in the energetic healing world, the mantras we chant and sing, the breath we breathe, the moment of peace and calm that we seek in our meditations, it's all God. I was then brought back to freshman year of college on a spring break church trip. We went to Taizé, France. And we visited this monastery there where it's Taizé is the monastery. And we were there for Holy Week, which is the week of Easter. And it was amazing. There were so many people there that kind of came together for this Holy Week from all different countries. It was like over 50 different countries speaking over 50 different languages. And we all came together to pray. And not everyone spoke English, right? So we had to learn to be and exist with people in different languages. And we spent most of our days chanting and praying in different languages. And we practiced meditations, and we sat in silence, and we ate simple foods, and we prayed mantras for hours and hours and hours on end. You guys, it was truly beautiful. And I aspire to go back there one day. I want to bring my son there. I want him to experience it. And I want to go there at this stage of my development of my life, because I think I will experience and cherish it in a different way. But creating this moment of clarity for myself today, setting the stage with the music that's calming, using my breath, movement, meditation that grounds me, all of these things allowed me to search within myself and journal out my experiences. And I went to bed that night knowing that God is the universe. And no matter what words I use to classify or categorize it, I'm strengthening my connection with Him. Whether I'm grounding into Mother Earth, rising with the sun, whether I'm breathing the music within my soul, chanting healing mantra, moving my body to move my energy, He is within every ounce of every action I take to heal. Because He is the very breath I breathe. He is I am. Meaning, if He were speaking, He is saying, I am ... fill in the blank. He is peace. He's joy. He's love. He's Mother Earth. He's the divine feminine and the divine masculine, right? He is non-binary. I'm going to use he, she, they. I don't know. I am. I am is non-binary. I am is the universe. I am is the trees that bring me life and the water that washes me clean. I am is the energy I move out each day through Reiki, yoga, breathwork, and journaling. So naturally, as I'm moving through this season of my life, this awakening, when I was tucking my son into bed one night and we were snuggling and I had these relentless hiccups, he said, I wish your hiccups would go away. And I said, I know, buddy. You know what? Let's pray that they do. And I know that a wish is a prayer, right? And so let's pray that they do. So we prayed. And like he does late at night when he's trying to fall asleep, he began processing our prayer and processing who he was praying to. And while this little conversation, it cured my hiccups, thankfully. And we popped out of bed and we hopped on the computer and recorded what he was processing. And he was open to sharing what he was processing with the world. And it was so profound for me as his mama, profound for anybody listening to a 4-year-old. So I have to share it with you guys, because little minds processing the greatness of God, the greatness of the universe, in simple ways, it's just too dang wise to not share. So, without further ado, here's my 4-year-old son sharing his wisdom of God. If you guys enjoy this episode, please, please, please leave us a review. I read them to my son, and he would love to hear what you are thinking and feeling and how his message is moving you. This episode is brought to you by One World Empowered. Hey there, tired mama. Do you wish you could push a reset button on your energy? Like, do you want to keep up with those Energizer bunnies that are running around you all day? I know. I feel ya. Coffee can only do so much. Well, don't you worry. I've got you covered. Now, just imagine a community of mamas who know the struggle and are working together to harness and reclaim their energy. We're talking about a true community of mamas who get it. Daily practices to jumpstart your days, accountability partners, group coaching calls to ground and recenter you throughout the 28 days. Does this sound like the exact dose of medicine you need in order to feel 100% again? If so, this program is exactly what you need if you want to be more present with your kiddos, if you think a new routine will help you maximize your time and you enjoy having an accountability partner to help you with developing that new routine and those new habits, if you'd like to increase your patience and energy all while reducing your stress and anxiety, and if you think it would be amazing to have an understanding community of mamas who get it and are on the same path towards healing. Mama, today is the day you choose you and level up. Come join our 28-day energetic reset for moms by visiting www.oneworldempowered.com/workwithme and click the Learn More option next to the Energetic Reset program, or just scroll down and click the link in my show notes below. I can't wait to meet you and witness you step into your full potential. See you there, Mama. I am sitting here with my sweet son, and we actually just climbed out of bed. I was tucking him in and we were snuggling, and he was asking me all sorts of questions about God and who is God and what does God look like and where did God come from. And so we started just talking, and he had some beautiful ideas that he wanted to share with you guys on the podcast. So here's my 4-year-old son, Emery. Say hi, buddy.
Hi.
So what questions were you asking me when I was tucking you in?
Maybe God is in the sun and God is in our bodies, and maybe God is in the bricks and the things we built with. Yeah. And maybe God is in the things what we was. Maybe God is in everything.
Maybe God is in everything. Yeah, lots of people like to think that God is in everything. God is in the butterflies and the ants and the animals and the trees and the flowers and the people, and all of the creations in the world are God's creations, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. And who do you think God is?
God is.
We were talking about what do you think God looks like, huh?
I think God looks like he has legs. He has a belly button. He has
ribs.
He has ribs.
Mm-hmm. You think God looks like that?
And he has teeth, and he has eyes, and he has hair.
So you think God looks
And
like
fingers.
a human?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think God looks like a bright white light of energy. Just a beautiful bright energy.
Yeah, I think that too.
You think that too?
Mm-hmm.
Think God can look like anything and everything?
Yeah. I think God is a big heart with sprinkles of everything.
Yeah.
Ta-da!
Ta-da. That was a beautiful perspective that you had. Huh. And then you asked a question, where did God come from? Where do you think God came from?
I think God came from the bang. But I know what
The Big
God.
Bang?
Yeah. I think the Big Bang. Maybe the bang put this God out so God could make all these things.
Maybe. I think maybe God was the Big Bang. Who knows? We don't know. Huh?
But I know God was the Big Bang, and then he came out of his bang and he made all this stuff and went back into his bang.
Oh, that's what you think, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that would mean that God is the universe?
Yeah.
In the galaxy?
Yeah. It's the galaxy, and it's the Earth, and
the whole world.
It's the whole world. And it's a tuna head.
And a tuna head. Of course, a tuna head.
And tuna to you.
Tuna to you. Anything else you want to say about God before we say goodnight?
No.
All right. Thank you, friends, for listening to a little bit of wisdom from a 4-year-old. It's a little bit of wisdom that we can learn a whole lot from. It just blows my mind how little brains can have such awareness and awe and wisdom in this world. And thank you for letting us share Emery's wisdom with you. Bye.
Bye. Can I eat your face? Yum, 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 yum. Can I eat your face? Yum, 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 yum.
Thank you so much for tuning in today. I hope you are feeling inspired and empowered in your own healing journey. I know that many of you listening might be reflecting on your own stories that you may feel called to share. If so, please reach out to me at denat@empowertoheal.com. That's DENAT@empower2heal.com. Or drop me a message through my Instagram handle at empower2heal. I would love to connect with you and learn about your journeys so that we can hopefully continue to spread these powerful life lessons on empowering ourselves to heal. My contacts will also be linked in the show notes below so that you can easily find me. We are so eager to start a movement in showcasing the many ways we can heal. And you can be part of this movement too by capturing images and tagging them #empower2heal on Instagram. We look forward to seeing all the ways that you are empowered to heal. I love you, beautiful souls, and thank you so much. Please be sure to subscribe, like, and review.